Hi, this is Jared Murphy from creativity.com. I'm going to answer a few questions for the Insecure Writers Club, which is a pretty cool group name. Sorry, it's the Insecure Writers Support Group, which is even better. Five questions really quickly. The first two are about building an author platform. Actually, the first three are kind of about building an author platform. So the first one is, what's the best advice to authors about creating an author platform? Um, and this is kind of tricky because I'm a designer, so my number one piece of advice would always be focus on the design, make it look really good, make it look clean, because what you're asking people to do is land on your website and then hopefully take action. So they'll be signing up for your email list or they'll be downloading your free book. And how things are presented, how well they look, that's something that it kind of influences the interaction and the experience that people are going to have when they're on their site. So if it looks really messy, if there's a lot of disarray, if there's a lot of different kinds of things on the site, number one, it'll be hard for people to find anything on your site, but also number two, they won't feel like it's a professional website. It'll seem kind of amateurish, and it's more likely they'll leave, especially if you're asking them to give up an email or buy a book or something. They'll leave because you haven't conveyed professionalism and trust and credibility, which is that's where design can be really important. However, I understand that for authors who aren't designers, who aren't web designers or graphic designers, it can be difficult to put all that stuff together. Um, so that's why I usually recommend not even focusing on the design, just keeping things really simple. If you start off with a really simple, clean WordPress website and you keep things organized, you don't have a lot of different stuff. Usually people fill their sidebar with 100 different things or 1,000 social media links. You really want to control the experience that people have when they go through your website. So you need to keep it clean and functional. You don't want lots. You don't want to be like, I don't know what people want when they're on my site, so I'm going to give them absolutely everything. I see a lot of author websites in the menu. They have like 20 different tabs on the menu, so the menu breaks into like 3 or 4 lines. That looks pretty terrible. You can always organize your menu so that you have maybe 5 main pages, and then under those pages you'll have sublinks to all the other stuff. But even that, you don't really want to give them everything because it's your job to control that experience. So when people land on your site, you need to show them what you want them to do, and that's got to be the biggest thing on your website. You should only have a few options, so you can have something that controls that experience, like a big button that says, "Are you new here? Start with this. Start with this free book," um, like a welcome, and that should be kind of the first thing. It's either in the menu or it's like the pin post on your blog, so that everybody who doesn't know you can find a welcome post and they know exactly what to get. And if they do know you and they're looking for something else, then if they know what they're looking for, they will look harder. So you could have, your books under your book page and your different books and the links to all your different stuff. You can still have it there, but you need to give weight to the things that if people don't know anything and they don't know what they're supposed to do on your site, you have to tell them what to do and make it really easy to find. If they're looking for something, they can use a search bar, they can look a little harder to find what they need. So that's some stuff considering other platforms and other websites. I use WordPress. I'm a big fan of WordPress. There are different themes. Pick something really simple, get a nice header designed, even just getting I usually just have my author name in some kind of a font. So it's just like a black font, maybe a color font on the title bar. So that's I don't get a fancy logo made or a fancy header made or anything like that. You might want to have some 3D books made just because it looks a little nicer to put those on your book pages or on your homepage. The most important thing, I'm just talking about basic web design, getting people onto your website, but the problem with other websites is that nobody's looking for you if they don't already know who you are. If they're not looking for your book, they're never going to find your other website. So it doesn't matter what your other website looks like. So the big thing, the reason why you need a blog is because if you build the right kind of traffic, then people will be finding you when they're searching for other things. So you need to be writing about things that those people are actually searching for. So I write young adult books. So I actually have a virtual assistant from the Philippines who helps me create a lot of content. So we have 10 best vampire books for teens or young adults, or 10 best thrillers, sci-fi, time travel, mermaids. We have dozens of these posts because when people Google those terms, I did some research, so I know that best books for teens is one of the big keywords that people actually use to find books. So they'll find my content, they'll find one of my sites, And then once they're on my site, I can control that experience and have them sign up for something or try to get my free book. But if you're not writing that kind of content, if you're just writing about yourself and your books, nobody's going to be finding you because they're not looking for those things yet. So that's kind of important. I do have a course called Guerrilla Publishing, which I did my first course last year, which is Reach Your Readers. It's basically about how to get more visibility, this kind of stuff, like building content that brings your readers to you. It is important. The mistakes I made with that course is that I kind of gave too much content, and I've realized writers already don't have very much time. They want to learn all this stuff very quickly without watching long videos. So in my future courses, I'm going to try to focus on, I tend to ramble and I make really long videos, but I really need to focus on making very specific, very short videos, teaching one thing at a time that they can take action on, that they can do. So Guerrilla Publishing will be about that, but it'll be focused 2 parts. One on just getting the book finished, designing it, uploading the files, distribution, and then launching the book. So I don't actually do a lot of book marketing. I launch really well. I build a really big platform before I start marketing my books, but I don't do like constant promotion. A lot of authors think that book marketing is constant promotion and being on social media like an hour a day and stuff like that. I don't really do any marketing for my books, but I build content and I position my books in a way that gets them to stick really well on Amazon so that they keep selling without doing any extra work, which is much easier than promoting all the time. And that kind of like spamming social media doesn't really work anyway, which is why I try to encourage authors not to be doing that kind of things. And instead to just be building a solid author platform. So if you just build it the right way in the beginning, they'll have less work to do in the future. So that Guerrilla Publishing is just about kind of a crash course in publishing quickly and launching a book really well. But I'm also making another course that's a 21-day author platform for authors who, like if you just have one book and you just want to launch it really well, then Guerrilla Publishing is enough. But if you want to really build a powerful author platform that brings in traffic long term, and you're going to write lots of books, and you're going to have an author career, and you want it to be profitable, then you really do need to take time and set up your author platform the right way. So this is like a 21-day, 21-step program. But still, you know, you do it in 3 weeks, you do it in a month about, and then you don't really have to do any more work because you've built it the right way. So those are the things that I'm working on that I think will be useful for authors. As a cover designer, it's tricky because I've put up websites to help authors design their own covers because I don't think it should be a requirement that authors have to spend a lot of money to publish their books. But the cover is hugely important. So if you don't have the right cover, and if the cover is not attracting the right readers, everything you do is going to be harder. All the marketing, all the author platform building stuff, nothing you do, everything is really about visibility and conversion. So you work really hard to get 1,000 visible viewers who are seeing your book or seeing your content, and then how many of those that you got your book in front of are actually taking action to click or download or whatever. If you're promoting something paid, you may put it in front of 1,000 people and get 10 sales, which would be not terrible results. But if you're advertising something free and you put it in front of 1,000 of the right readers and they like that kind of book, you should be getting at least 100 clicks or downloads. But that conversion can always be better or worse. So if you're not getting, like if I have really good covers, so if I reach 1,000 people, I might get 500 signups to a free book because my covers are really strong. So having better covers can make a huge difference in the conversion, which means you need less visibility. And that's really the hard part, is to get your book seen. You don't want to work really hard to get visibility and then have a really small amount of conversion because the cover isn't attractive enough to the right readers. So that's one thing where doing a little, like spending more time on getting the right cover, or possibly more money on getting the right cover. Money doesn't necessarily mean you'll be getting a better cover. I know designers who are amazing. For like $150, they can design a great cover, but you really have to know your designers. I know the industry, so I know designers who are really good at a specific type of book cover. And it's hard to find one designer who's good at all kinds of book covers. So you really need to look around, look at their samples, and find something that works. But the thing that authors screw up is they try to make the cover that they want, or they want to make the cover that matches the idea that they have for their book. And that doesn't matter because readers haven't read the book yet, and you only need the cover to attract the right readers enough to get them to read the book description. And if you mess that process up by trying to control the process too much and focusing on the details and telling the designer exactly what to do, you may end up with a cover that you really like, but doesn't work because readers aren't attracted to it. Maybe it's factually correct, it has all the details, it exactly summarizes the scene that you had in your head, but it's not pretty, it's not attractive, it doesn't all look good together, especially if you're trying to make like a collage or a scene, which is really hard to do. It's always better to pick something very simple and have one flat background and one protagonist or humanizing element or something like that. But the things that people get wrong is they focus on the details and not the emotion or the mood. So the colors and the contrast signify the mood of the genre, so that's the mood that your book is going to promise, and the font tells the actual genre. So you need a font that communicates the genre of your book, and if you're not doing that, readers might even think that's a pretty cover, but they don't know that it's the right genre that they like, so they may still skip over your cover. So the cover is really important. I talk a lot about book cover design. I have a lot of resources. It's very important, and it will make everything so much easier if you get it right. But it is hard, and it can be expensive to get the right cover. So that's why I recommend learning about cover design so that you know what works and what doesn't. And then finally, the last question I've gotten for the Insecure Writer Support Group is my plan about building a writer's retreat in a European castle. So I've been looking for castles in Europe for the last 3 or 4 years. We've gone to Europe the last 3 years and spent about 3 months touring castles, basically. Last year we rented a castle for NaNoWriMo, and that was my first chance to actually run a writing retreat and to kind of see how it all works. I still have ambitions. I just found a castle last night that's on a lake in Italy, and it's totally perfect. I would love to buy it. And I might, like, if I could, get all my businesses to work, or if I'm making a lot of money with my fiction, that would be my end goal. In terms of my plan was kickstarting the castle by pre-selling writing retreat packages to afford to buy the castle. That may be more difficult than I had anticipated because few people can actually just take a month off and go to Europe to stay at a castle. So that plan may change. I may keep renting castles in Europe to do writing retreats, but if I'm going to actually buy something, I'm kind of interested now in buying property in Oregon or Washington and building like a writer's colony with cabins. I think that's very attractive to me also, and would be a little easier because it's closer to where I'm from, so I have friends and family there. Either way, I think I love the idea of having retreats. I like organizing events, and I like the idea of I like doing very big things that inspire authors. So even if we just rent a castle every year and take pictures of it, I think that's really inspiring to show authors what they can do, because there are so many of us who are trying to write books together, and we really need a sense of community and a sense of motivation. And there's a lot of the positive benefits of having a writer's retreat is that it's a very specific amount of time where you're expected to get a lot of work done, and it can be very productive. So anyway, that's kind of a little bit about me and what I do. So I hope some of these answers helped, and you can find more free resources and things on creativity.com or some of my other websites. Thanks, bye-bye.